Welcome to the Actian Looker webinar, taking your customer analytics to the next level with Ryan Dudgeon from Actian and Bruce Sandell from Looker. Bruce?
Hi, everybody. I'm Bruce Sandell from Google, and thanks very much for joining us today. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Looker, Looker is Google Cloud's cloud-native enterprise BI platform, enabling secure access to near real-time data when and where you need it. Organizations that work with Looker find three primary benefits. The first is that it makes your data teams more agile. There's a single simplified system that results in faster responses to change. Your data teams can create automated, repeatable processes, which allow them to focus on their new initiatives faster. Second is that data teams are more efficient. Analysts save time by providing self-service experiences for users and are able to collaborate easily with other analysts. Their focus can change from maintenance to improving business outcomes. They shift from managing infrastructure to delivering insights. And finally, governance and control of data is simplified when the systems are centralized. There's a single source of truth for metrics. Data remains in a single repository, and rapid access to data and agility are not sacrificed with this improved governance. Next slide, please. At its core, Looker is a fundamentally different modern way to do analytics. And that's based on a few key areas where Looker has focused our technology. First, Looker has an in-database architecture. This means that no data needs to be extracted or moved from the database or warehouse before analysis. Looker supports more than 50 unique database dialects, so whichever database you choose, Looker can leverage it. And Looker can take advantage of native database functionality, such as working with JSON data, data permissions, and any other advanced functionality that your database provides. Second, Looker's powerful semantic modeling layer, also known as LookML, saves analysts time. Analysts model data and define metrics in a single unified way to keep the whole organization in sync. And developing models, metrics, and new ways to use data is a highly collaborative process that reduces unnecessary repetition of work. It's Git integrated as well. Model changes can be controlled, audited, and distributed among departments and analysts. And third, Looker is cloud native and extendable. It's fully web-based. With Looker, you get full API support so you can connect to third-party systems and either other analytics tools if needed. And Looker can be deployed on the cloud infrastructure of your choice or on-prem. Looker is open and interoperable, and that's one of our core tenets. Next slide, please. Here's a high-level overview of Looker's architecture. Looker will work with you to centralize all of the data sources that are important to your business across sources like SaaS applications, transactional data, and put them in a centralized warehouse like Actian Avalanche. Looker connects to that centralized source of data, which is where you're going to define all of your business logic. Then you can use Looker to accomplish all of your data-related tasks, which we bucket into four main categories. The first is modern BI, which is creating dashboards, reporting, and ad hoc exploration for all of your internal analytics needs. Next is integrated insights. This is bringing data and visualizations from Looker into the tools people are already using, like your CRM, customer support, and chat applications. Next is data-driven workflows. And this is sending data to third-party systems to automate workflows, like sending an audience list from Looker to a marketing automation tool or a curated set of data to a machine learning tool for predictive analytics. And finally, are custom applications. Using the data from Looker to power your own analytics experience, either through embedding Looker visualizations directly or leveraging our API to power your own completely custom data applications. Next slide, please. So why do Looker and Avalanche work so well together? Looker's in-database architecture allows companies to maximize their investment in Avalanche by taking advantage of Avalanche's speed and innovative features. We really see Avalanche shine in use cases where performance and access to near real-time data is critical. Looker makes self-service reporting easy for end users. And with the data coming from a single source of truth and users sharing common definitions of business metrics, your data analysts are freed from being full-time report writers and can spend their time on a more innovative work. And Looker allows users to take advantage of all of Avalanche's advanced functionality, like working with data stored in JSON or invoking user-defined functions. I'm going to turn things over to Ryan now, who will give you more insight into Avalanche, including a great demo.
Thanks very much, Bruce. Appreciate it. Looking forward to giving everyone a demonstration. And as background here, we use both Actian Avalanche and Looker internally. So part of this will be sharing with you how we actually use this technology internally to drive our results as well. One of the things I wanted to point out before we go into the demonstration is for many of you on the line that may be considering where you want to run your analytics from. Perhaps some of you are farther along in your customer analytics journey, and some of you might be in an early spot in that journey. And what I wanted to point out is that there are many different locations where customer data is going to be located, and you're very aware of these systems. If you're in a B2B organization, you may be using a CRM such as Salesforce. You may be getting third-party data from third-party services such as ZoomInfo. You may have a marketing automation platform such as Marketo, and other communication tools that you're using with your customers and prospects such as SalesLoft or Outreach. So one of the things I wanted to point out is each of these systems are very good at what they do, and they do integrate with CRMs, and the marketing platform integrates with the CRM as well. But what you might find is as you go through that journey of getting to a customer 360 view or more advanced customer analytics, what you might be finding is that doing so outside of, doing that analytics from the CRM or from the marketing platform becomes a bit difficult to get the view. And I wanted to point out some of the reasons why. And this also is going to support why the Avalanche Customer Data Analytics Hub, which I'll go to in a moment, is a way to solve this pain point that you might be having. So one of the things that you might be running into is, as a business, marketing, and revenue team, is that some of the data is not in the CRM, even though you've integrated these technologies. So for example, Drift, Marketo, ZoomInfo, these all can be integrated with your CRM. However, to get all of the objects unified, it's very highly technical. And that requires CRM administrators, developers, and as a business team, those resources usually sit outside your team. So really what I'm going to talk about today is how business teams can enhance these views by utilizing the skills that you already have. So business analysts today are using a lot of their time and energy into trying to find this information. They may be using spreadsheets and doing VLOOKUPs outside of the systems, which is manual work that often goes undocumented. Really what we want to talk a bit about today that we can help you with the Actian Avalanche Customer Data Analytics Hub, as well as Looker, is how you can actually avoid these pitfalls and give your teams the time back so that their analytics and work that they're doing with the data is documented inside these systems, and it's more repeatable with less manual work. So often what we find, and I'll talk a bit about the use case that we use internally at Actian with all of our analytics using the Actian Customer Data Analytics Hub. What we find is that we give the time back to those previous analytics team members, business analysts, marketing analysts, revenue analysts, give them that time back that they were spending on all the manual work, and they're much more engaged with the tools because they're getting a better result versus doing the manual work itself. So I know, Bruce, you shared a really good architecture slide. I'm not going to spend too much more time on architecture. I will go to the demonstration, but I did want to point out what is different from a technical perspective when you're using the Actian Customer Data Analytics Hub. It is a Avalanche cloud warehouse, as Bruce had mentioned. The one thing that differentiates Actian is we include the integration and transformation capabilities within our Actian Customer Data Analytics Hub. And that's because it was designed from the ground up to have a full cycle to access, enrich, unify, and help you visualize that data and get those customer 360 insights. So that is a differentiator that I will demonstrate. And it also helps the business and marketing teams become more aligned because all of the data and processes are within this single cloud platform, which I'll now go through. So as I open up this demo, the one thing that I want to point out is this is a revenue and marketing demonstration. If you're not in a revenue or marketing function, you can imagine your metrics in this type of analytics use case I'm going to show. But really what I'll walk you through is how you can use Actian Avalanche and Looker to unify customer data quickly, tackle use cases such as cleaning your CRM and marketing platform that may have some messy data or need some cleanup, help you generate customer profiles, segmentation, and campaign optimization. That's all under the bucket of acquiring more customers. Also walk through some use cases around retaining customers, such as knowing your customer better, loyalty analytics, account scoring, and engagement, understanding how your accounts and customers are engaging with you, and looking at customer journey. Lastly, some of the expand metrics, doing more detailed customer analytics around cross-sell and upsell, automating actions, and expanding more data sources into the cloud analytics use case so you can get an even wider view of understanding your customers. So without further ado, I know we can take some questions after the demo. What I'd like to do now is to shift this to a screen share, which I'll walk you through the Actian Customer Data Analytics Hub in real time, and I'll explain to you what you're seeing. So before the call here, I actually logged in to Actian's Customer Data Analytics Hub, which is powered by Avalanche. So what you're seeing here is a screen of Actian's internal test area. So this is all test data. It's also where I'm going to run my demonstration from today. It's going to have anonymous data. So I'm highlighting it here. It's going to be the Customer 360 demo. And I'm inside Avalanche right now, which you can see at the top left. I'm under the Warehouse tab, but there's also this Integrations tab, which I'll get to in a moment. What you're seeing here is this is the Customer 360 demo environment with Looker and Google. And what we've done is we've brought in data sources through this integration process across multiple systems, which I'm going to show you how that data came together. I'm also going to walk you through some helpful items that you might want to know about as you might have some questions as we get through this, is that the Actian Avalanche warehouses that I'm in right now are smart warehouses in that they know what type of data is in them. And there's advanced analytics capabilities in these warehouses, but they also have features such as automatic stopping. So I have this set to stop after 1 hour of idle or non-usage. And you can set this to any time frame you like. And you might be wondering, why does Avalanche have that capability? Well, we're talking about helping you minimize your costs, increase your performance. And one of the features we have is to make sure you're not paying for analytic services when you're not using them. So in other words, you're only going to pay for the analytics as our services are running in the cloud and as you invoke them. So this is a very simple use case I'm going to walk you through, but I just wanted to walk you first through the Avalanche warehouse. This is where the teams will come to set up the size of the warehouse. So this compute engine is 2 Avalanche units, which is a good use case for a small work group. This can go as high as a user may need if they're doing real-time advanced data analytics across more data. This number could go as high as 8, 16, 32, 64. It depends on the use case, but 2 AUs is what I'll be powering today, the entire demonstration of marketing and customer data. And the other thing I wanted to point out is because the differentiator I mentioned earlier, the Actian Customer Data Analytics Hub use case includes the Avalanche warehouses, but also the integrations capabilities, which allows you to come in as a business and IT team and better team to make sure that you know what customer data that you're loading. The marketing and the business teams can get access and understand which data is coming in and how is it being integrated. Because if you don't know as a business team what data is in there, you're not going to really understand how to optimize your analytics or to really know your customers. So that's really the differentiator I want to go through today. And we have Web Connect as well as part of our solution, which allows you to, it looks like I'm in a private connection, so I can't get in there through this webinar. But if I went to the Web Connect, what you're able to do is to see which sources you want to connect to as a business and IT team. So in there, you'll see connections such as Salesforce, Marketo, SAP, and your business teams and IT teams can work through this web interface to connect to data sources, but we offer much more than that. So when we say integration is included with Actian Avalanche and the Customer Data Analytics Hub, there's a capability to have your teams develop templates and repeatable integrations that anyone in your organization can use through Avalanche Connect, which is this entire integration interface with the warehouses. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift it over and I can take some questions. But what I'm going to do now is to now open up the Looker dashboard that we use internally. And I'm going to walk you through a use case. All of this data is anonymized for the purposes of demonstration, but we do use this type of analytics use case inside of Actian with real data as well. And we also help our customers if they do have a marketing and customer analytics use case with these types of dashboards and integrations. So the first thing I want to walk you through is this is obviously a series of tiles in Looker that make it very easy for you to find which data you might want to explore. The first one I'm going to walk through, and this is exciting, is I'm looking at data quality. So this first use case is using the Actian Avalanche Customer Data Analytics Hub to integrate the data, which I showed you a moment ago, and to store the data in the cloud across multiple, it's looking at multiple data sources. So in this case, we're looking at the marketing automation platform, which is Marketo. We're looking at Salesforce contacts and leads, and we're looking at an outbound email prospecting tool called SalesLoft. And what you're able to do and what you're seeing here is the Actian Customer Data Analytics Hub is pulling all the data together, and Looker is giving you the answer back, in this case around data quality, how much or what percentage of our accounts are of high or low data quality, and what might the issues be. So as a marketer, this is really powerful, because if you want to be able to reach your prospects effectively, you need to know who they are. And this is something we spent a lot of time on internally to actually implement, because we've implemented ABM, account-based marketing, as an organization. And this is one of the first steps in ABM, is to really understand and classify your accounts and to clean your CRM, clean your marketing platform and other systems, so you have a unified view, and to start to segment and do some segmentation, such as persona-based or micro segmentation around personas. So I'm able to very quickly, using the Looker dashboard here, in this case, a data quality index that was developed, to find out which accounts don't have an account name, which people don't have a phone number. So these are all leads and contacts. And if somebody does not have an email at all, that may be a challenge overall if you have an outbound digital strategy that includes emailing. And then we have some records with no names. What you're able to do, it's all about what you can do with this. You can take this, so there's some tile actions that you can do within Looker, where you're going to export the data and then start to explore that data within Looker You can also take it into a CSV and start to address it with some enrichment. And so this is the very first demonstration I typically give because it's a very easy one to understand, but I also find that it's one that a lot of organizations are working through right now, is where do you do your data quality? And if I go back to the value proposition of Actian Avalanche and Looker together here, because we're providing the integration and the cloud unification together, so storing that data in Google, in this case, Google Cloud, it is a very valuable, simple solution to go and do that as a business and IT team at a low cost. One example I give, and sometimes I get questions on this, but one example I give is that, the CRM, in this case, Salesforce, is a very powerful system inside of Actian. We have 99% of our resources using it as their day-to-day. I should say 100% of resources using it as a day-to-day task system and where our records stay. But when we do advanced analytics, I want to point out one of the really interesting data points here. When we started to clean our CRM, one thing we found was some of the data shouldn't maybe be in the CRM, and we're paying for a lot of storage in the CRM. So storage within a CRM, you're typically paying by the gigabyte, which could cost tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars per year to store gigabytes of data in a CRM. One of the interesting facts is by moving data out of the CRM that shouldn't be there, maybe it's really old, but you still need to hold on to it for some reason, you can move that into Google Cloud in this case with Actian Avalanche and the customer data analytics sub-use case we're talking about. And you can go from hundreds of thousands of dollars in storage costs down to, single digit, couple $1,000s to store equivalent data. So that's just one use case I want to point out as I'm talking about data quality, because some data you may not want to have in a CRM for various reasons, but you still want to hold on to it and be able to analyze it. And I can talk a lot about that, but what I want to do now is to show you a few more use cases because we have a pretty wide audience here. I now want to walk you through a common use case within the marketing and sales arena around expanding opportunities. So one of the hardest things to do is to sell in the modern era of digital. There's so much competition, so much noise out there. Where should I focus? This is a use case that has got a lot of interest around how do you help focus which accounts, and these are all anonymized accounts, this is showing you which accounts have intent. So through a third-party data source such as ZoomInfo, you can source what companies are interested in based on high activity of web searches and other information. So in this anonymized data set, I have a very simple table including all of my key accounts and what they may be interested in, but we've dropped a filter on this saying, show me intent without opportunity. So if I'm a sales and marketing team, these are accounts that we don't have, and they're anonymized, but these are accounts that we don't have any current engagements with, but they may have some intent signal. Higher the better. So you see down here, company 9610 has a 468 intent score on Cloud 2. This is something that is of interest, and it may trigger an action here for us to investigate this. But what's nice about this view, because you can get intent scores by themselves and you can get them integrated into Salesforce. What's unique about this is the speed and the precision. So this, you saw how fast this loaded. Typically, this type of report in a CRM system would take a lot longer, and we're not able to jump and drill into the actions I'm going to show you in a moment. The other thing we can do is get a good profile on our key accounts and just a roll up of what are our key accounts interested in. Again, anonymized data, but almost half of them are interested in Cloud 2 and Cloud 7, which are anonymized product names that we offer and that match to these categories. So again, I just want to show you a variety of use cases, but this is one where we're taking third-party data, in this case, ZoomInfo, and matching it with our opportunity data at a very high speed. And I realize I'm going to start to show you a few views, and then I'll take some questions. But I want to show you the power of maybe a more advanced use case here, where we're now bringing together all the data into a view that a marketer may want to check in on. And this is not necessarily customer analytics as much as it is a assessment on how you're doing as a marketing team relative to your intended goals. So if you're a large organization where you have a lot of communications going out across sales teams, out of systems such as Outreach and SalesLoft, you have your marketing communications going out of Marketo or other marketing platforms. This is a way to, what you're seeing here is all the data unified together. So you can see in this use case example, how you're doing as a marketing team as far as outreach being how often are you contacting your prospects and customers. High would be considered an interval that you've selected that is maybe too much and could lead to some issues around spam or other issues. Medium might be just about right for you. Low means it's very infrequent, and zero by definition, everybody understands we're not doing any outreach. So, using the Looker visualization here and Actian's customer data analytics hub, very quickly a leader can come in and say, hey, look, we might have an issue. There's 86% of our intended customer base that is receiving zero communication. This is a very powerful use case. This could also highlight if you had a spam issue. So what I'm going to look at now is to show you a drill down in real time on a persona. And this persona we're going to look at is just this is all anonymized, but we're calling it a CRM 360 audience. And in this case, you can see in real time how quick the data has changed. And now the zero communication problem has gone down to a very low number, and the high, medium, and low has changed, and we still have 43% low communication, which may or may not be an issue. We could drill into this and see why. Again, the power of this unification using Actian's customer data analytics hub is the speed, the accuracy, and not needing to repeat those processes in a manual manner. So typically you may have team members running Excel reports or stitching systems together. The beauty of having this unified and visualized in Looker is that it just removes all that downstream workflow, which often has errors, other challenges. Once you bring it into Avalanche with the integrations we discussed, those are now repeatable processes that are all automated. So our integrations, if you're not familiar with them, include the ability to do transformations, calculations, other things that would have been done in spreadsheets are being done by the Actian Customer Data Analytics Hub. So the power of this is once you define what you need, you're really off to the races with some automation as a team. What you're also seeing here is other data points you may be interested in, such as the engagement of specific assets and content. So for this persona on a single pane of glass, you can see which pieces of content, whether they were digitally sent from a system such as a marketing platform or maybe a sales team. These are the content pieces that are getting the highest engagement for this persona. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and show you a couple more things because we've got a wide audience here. Got 2 or 3 more quick use cases, and then we'll open it up to some questions. The next use case I'm going to do, so I'm back at the home base of the tiles for the Looker dashboard, and I'm now going to show you a customer journey analysis. And with customer journey, this is a question I get a lot when I'm working with customers that are interested in working with Actian. This is one of the common use cases that everyone's trying to get their head around because of those multiple systems that are expanding their footprint within the CRM or the marketing platform. So in this case, I'm showing you a few different systems coming together. So what you're seeing here is Marketo. You're seeing SalesLoft, which is an email application for salespeople. Salesforce activity and SalesLoft activity across phone calls. So that's been integrated and merged and unified. You're seeing account engagement, such as clicking, both Marketo sales emails that are in SalesLoft or just through straight Office 365 or Gmail. Drift is a chat tool. So Drift is a chat tool that does integrate with Salesforce. It also is something that we pull into this view. And then these are some of the web statistics, such as customers visiting the websites, filling out forms, and then some of the marketing metrics around discovery meetings, demos, meetings. So the power of this is all the data is brought together. Again, we've anonymized the companies for today's session. But really the power of this is, as a marketer and as a business leader, is you have all your data unified and consolidated in a location where you can start to do some analytics at a high level. So this visual graph, it's a very detailed graph. I'm not going to go into this too much today, but as a marketer, you can see if there's a cadence around Marketo, and it looks like there is at a macro level at a certain volume. You can also see at a visual level across all your accounts if there's some spikes in activity. But really what a marketer is going to do, or a revenue person would do in this screen, is to really look into a key account. So what I'm going to do here is to drill in to an anonymized account. So one of the things with customer analytics is you want to get as close to a single customer or single account as you can, because that's where you start to develop some insights. And that's what this is going to allow you to do. So very quickly, within a couple milliseconds, what you've seen there is I've now drilled into an anonymous company. All the names have been anonymized. There is some job titles here. But what I'm able to do, and you saw how fast that was with Looker and with Actian, was I'm able to come in and I'm going to just do a couple drill downs. I can understand on your screen it's a little bit small. So let me navigate you through what this use case is doing. So I'm taking all the activity across all these people within the account. And the question I'm trying to solve here is, are we getting the right engagement across the customer journey that we were intending? So you can see all these Marketo sends, SalesLoft sends. We've had a couple of phone calls. There's some engagement background opens and meetings, but we haven't created enough opportunity in this account. This is an account that I'm interested in. So what I'm able to do within milliseconds is I just did a quick drill into discovery, which is discovery meetings. And I've had one with each of these individuals. One is a reporting architect and one is a business intelligence technologist. And what I'm finding is that we've had no other meetings in this account. So what I can do within, again, a millisecond, I just clicked this open area within Looker, and I'm able to see that these are the key people that are opening communications from our organization across both Marketo and SalesLoft. So within a couple milliseconds, what I'm able to do is to prioritize 5 to 10 people that I'd like to get introduced to. This is a very common sales and marketing use case, is I want to do a better job with an account. I want to understand their journey and how we're doing. And what I'm noticing is we're not making enough phone calls or follow-up or getting introductions. So it's a very simple answer that we found here. And it's something we can go now test and see if we can optimize this, not just for this account, but this learning could probably help us over a lot of accounts. So this is one of the benefits of doing analytics with a visual view, is business leaders can quickly spot issues and opportunities. And that's exactly what I should mention as I come back here. The day, I think this was around 2 years ago, as Actian, our group, I'm in the revenue and marketing groups, our group around 2 years ago implemented the Actian Customer Data Analytics Hub internally. And the first thing that happened when we unified the data was that our leaders got access to these dashboards and started to answer their own questions that they often had. And they would see things that others wouldn't. And that was the power of the visualization. So I'm going to show a couple of simple things, and then I'm going to open it up to questions. One of the very simple things you can do with the Actian Customer Data Analytics Hub and the Looker visualization is answer very common questions around who are the most engaged people. So these are anonymized people, leads and contacts. And we've organized them into percent open rates, percent clicks, and engagement scores. So each person that engages gets a score based on number of clicks, number of opens, etc. These are all services that you sometimes would have to pay for from third-party services that are out there around giving you customer analytics. What I'm sharing with you is you can design those yourself for, replacing the need to go have multiple systems giving you scoring analytics, and you can do that all here. And you can feed that data back to your CRM as needed as well. So this is an interesting use case. And then the last one I'm going to show you, going back to my tiles. So with customer analytics, the possibilities are endless. You may have some things that you may want to look into once you get your data unified, but this is one that I want to share with you because we get this question quite a lot, which is, hey, we've got multiple systems communicating with accounts. In this case, we have a marketing team communicating to accounts over Marketo. We've got a sales team communicating to accounts and customers through SalesLoft. The question is, how are we doing from an overall metrics perspective? Are the accounts converting into meetings, leads, qualified leads, and opportunities? What this is showing you in a single pane of glass is all the different personas that are being engaged, what they are engaging with. So these are the subjects, the assets. They could be web pages, emails, or other digital communications. And what I'm able to do really quickly is do a health check as a marketing and revenue leader to see, hey, are we having the right cadence and frequency and volume? Is this the right volume of communications that should be going? Is it too high or too low? So I get a visual cue, but I also get to drill down to what the outreach conversion is. So before I go to outreach conversion, which is, hey, are these turning into meetings? I'm going to show you that as a marketer, you again may want to come in and see a certain persona because that's your focus. Maybe 80% of your revenue is coming from one type of persona. You can come in and do a quick health check to see, are these the right topics that these accounts under this persona should be receiving from our teams? And does this look like the right mix of communication between a marketing system and the sales team? So again, very quickly, you can get that answer. And I'm going to show you now how within real time, you can drill in at any time into the activity itself and start to find out which activity has been the most effective. So this is, I've been showing you a lot of visuals. I'm not going to continue to drill in too much further. I just want to let you know that this type of analytics is very easy to do when you've unified your data and you start to identify these peaks. So in this case, I'm going to drill in and zoom in on these peaks of high, these are qualified marketing leads, which means emails have converted into a high intent lead or a meeting. So I can come in and very quickly see which communications have been most effective. And I can see that this time frame here was a really key time for conversion. And I can see that there was a single asset that may have done that, right? So I'm just showing you some real-time examples of how a marketer could use this to drill in and become more effective and to generate more business. So what I'd like to do, I know we're at about the time where we're going to turn it over to questions. So what I'll do is I'll just pull the slides back up real quick, and I'm going to hand it back to Vivian, who will facilitate the Q&A.
Thanks, Ryan. So what you're seeing on our slide here, if you'd like additional information, we have a Google sales@actian.com email alias, as well as a landing page. And to get to the questions, so first question we have is from Tim, and it's, are the standards in Avalanche recommended for Avalanche to improve joinability of different data sources? Thinking of something akin to ISO standards in hardware software design. And Ryan, I don't know if that's one that we want Mary to chime in on.
Yeah. If Mary has an answer, I'm fine with Mary answering that.
Yeah, so Actian Avalanche adheres to all the industry standards related to databases. That's your ANSI SQL standard. And then in the Avalanche service, there's all sorts of standards around having a cloud service, such as SOC 2 compliance, which we meet that standard as well. So we're very focused on standards.
Thanks, Mary. I have another question for Ryan. Is the data real time within Actian's customer data analytics hub?
Yeah, good question. So I was showing earlier when I was going through the demonstration of the warehouse interface console, when I was showing the warehouse interface, there's also an area where you could select how frequent, once you've set up the integration, let's say it was Salesforce, how frequent would you like that data to be refreshed into the Actian Customer Data Analytics Hub, in this case, the Avalanche cloud on Google. So in this case, you can select that. So sometimes you might want to get that data more frequent, or sometimes you might want to get it on a batch basis nightly. It's up to you. And this comes down to some use cases are real-time, high-volume data, and some use cases maybe you're doing reporting the next day, so you're okay to get it overnight. But really, it's up to you. You can control the schedule, and really, what changes your need is typically cost. So the more you're running these cloud integrations and compute, it will start to generate a bill. But typically you can right size how often is good for you within your budget and find out, okay, well, look, daily is good for this use case, and in other use cases you may want to pay for a little bit more data flowing real time.
Great, thank you. I have a question for Bruce, and that is Looker's data modeling language hard to learn?
Thanks, Vivian. Yeah, this is a question that we get a lot, and the answer is that it's not. If you're familiar with SQL, then it's really easy to learn. Our data modeling language, which is called LookML, is just an abstraction of SQL. Typically, it's only going to be your data analysts that are working with LookML. They're the ones that are building the model, defining all the metrics that are going to be shared within the organization, which is going to open up the opportunity for your end users to do their own self-service analytics. So usually it takes people maybe just a couple days to learn it. And once they use it, there's a few aspects of it that people typically love that overcome some of the downfalls typically found in just using SQL. So one of those is that Lookers all get integrated, so that all the work that you're doing is safely stored in a repository where you can roll it back. You can have multiple developers working at the same time, using all the Git features like merge, so people aren't walking on each other's toes. And the second one, probably the biggest one, is code reusability. So rather than writing the same query over and over, with Looker, you define a metric in one place, and then you use that wherever you want. You use it in your dashboards. You use it in your custom applications. And anytime that if you were to want to modify the definition of that metric, you change it in one place, and the changes cascade to everywhere that it's referenced, every report, every dashboard. Every custom user interface that references it will immediately inherit it. So you don't have to go back and search for all the places that you've used it and fix it.
Great, thanks, Bruce. Ryan, I have one more question for you, and that is, can I also update my CRM or marketing platform with more relevant data because of the Actian Avalanche solution?
Yeah, that is one of the use cases. So when I was sharing with you all the data being brought together and seeing the insights, a common use case is, for example, the data quality use case. When I was sharing the data quality, and we could see there was 100,000 people without an account name or a phone number. That's an excellent example where what a business user would typically do is to either automate a process. So every time that happens, a file is sent or a process is started where you would then go update the CRM. Now, or the benefit of this is the process would be across multiple systems. So that is the real benefit. And you can also look for things such as, I'll give you another example, data that's sitting within one system, but not in the other. So a common use case there would be, let's say your team, sales team, went and loaded a bunch of new leads into an outside app like SalesLoft or Outreach. However, those leads or contacts were not put into Salesforce. That's actually a problem for a lot of organizations because that data is now stealth. You'll never see it. It's orphaned outside of your systems, and your sales teams are communicating to accounts. So that's a long way to answer that. Yes, there's multiple use cases where you would unify data so that you can go back and enhance not just the CRM, but your other apps as well. And it is a very common starting place for a lot of organizations doing customer analytics, is to first use a solution like the one we showed you today to do a first level cleaning or enhancement of your data.
Great, thank you, Ryan. Wanted to open up to the audience. If you have any additional last minute questions, please feel free to enter them into the Q&A box. And we'll give everyone a moment. Okay, well, I don't see any additional questions coming in. I wanted to thank you all for your participation today. And for next steps, please go to Google Sales at Actian.com or our website, Actian.com, for additional information. Thank you so much for attending, and you may disconnect now.